less. And my husband finally came home, and he was wonderful, and he rubbed my back and he helped me, and whatever it was that I needed, he was there for me. And then if I just wanted to deal with it on my own, he was willing to be in my space but not really do anything. So we finished out the process of passing all the tissues, and by the end of that Saturday night, by the time we went to bed, it seemed like I had passed most everything. So I still didn't know what to expect. You read about it, and the books and online Google says that you might bleed for a couple of weeks, and it might be a few weeks, it might be a few days. It doesn't really tell you exactly what you can expect, but that's because we're all different and our bodies are all going to process it differently. So I armed myself with the biggest pads I could find because I had to go to school, and I didn't know what that was gonna look like exactly. So Sunday we ended up not going to church because we did end up going to church actually, because I just knew that I was going to be able to handle whatever happened. I wasn't, having contractions. I wasn't bleeding profusely or anything like that. So I figured I would be able to handle it. And I really just wanted to be in that space that I love so much. God is everywhere, but certainly when I am in church with my husband and we're worshiping and we're hearing a good word from our pastor, it feels good. And I'm smart enough to know that if something feels good, you should do it. So at that time, I woke him up, and we went ahead and went, and I was very glad for it. And it gave me a great opportunity to start to heal and to just heal with my husband. So the next few days were pretty heavy flow, kind of like if I was having a heavy period. And there were some, pieces of tissue, but very small, again, like you're having a period, just like you're sloughing off parts of the uterus during that time. And I really didn't have any kind of cramping or anything after that. It was really pretty easy. I do attribute the whole process that it was fairly easy and quick. I do attribute it to my body being healthy and me giving it the opportunity to do what it was created to do. So I just kept wearing the pads, and they're really cumbersome, actually. It wasn't easy wearing cute pants with big pad. It was, it became frustrating. But I don't want to take light of the situation at all. That Monday, some people are really emotional, and that's okay. That's who you are, and that's who we are, and we're emotional beings, so that's good. And certainly in a situation where we've lost a loved one, and life was lost, we have every right to mourn, and we need to mourn, and we need to be emotional, and manage that process the way we would naturally. But I'm kind of tough. So I have more of an inclination to just say, okay, that's just what happened, and that's just what needed to happen. And so, okay, moving right along, because what else is there to do but move right along? And that has its benefits for some things, and for some reasons even in this situation. But it was giving me an opportunity to maybe not deal with Nugget and the life that I had growing in me. So, when I found out I was pregnant, every morning as I was turning a corner at a light to go to school, I would say, "Good morning, God. Good morning, Nugget." And then I would thank God, and I would just start praying for Nugget, and I would just tell Nugget what a great job he or she was doing in building whatever it was that we were building that week, arms or legs or eyes or brains, or celebrating the heartbeat at the 5th and 6th week. So it was a routine that we had together, all three of us. And that Monday when I left for school, when I turned that corner, and I just didn't have anything to say. And that part was hard. It was hard, and I just let it be, and of course I started to cry, and I of course tried to stop myself after a while because I knew that I was going to need to be at school. So I got to school and I made my way and got through my first class, and I happened to see my best friend sitting on a couch, and she gave me a big hug. She's like, hi. It was her birthday that weekend, so I asked her how her birthday was going, and she's like, oh, how's Nugget? And I just couldn't handle it. I just couldn't even talk about it, and I just didn't want to be an emotional cry and be sad like that in front of everybody at school in that place. And so that day was just incredibly hard because I kept just erupting in tears spontaneously without knowing how to deal with it, and then trying to control it. So it was a tough day, it really was. And I called my husband. We go to school together, so he came to school early so that we could hang out. He could comfort me and hug me and hold me, and that was really special. But it got easier after that. That afternoon I actually went to my best friend Becky's house, and she bought Nugget balloon and cupcakes and card, and she got me a coloring book, you know, with the adult coloring books, and she got me a charm from Pandora, and she forced me to recognize that indeed the life that I knew was growing in me before that was still a life, and a life worthy to be celebrated, and that it was a moment that was worthy to be had and to be appreciated. So we did. We just recognized that Nugget got to go straight from my womb to be with God, and got the fast track. So that's pretty cool, you know, you get the fast track to God. So that was very comforting, you know, to know that I was going to be able to meet Nugget one day and be with Nugget. And until then, I think she was a she was going to be with Jesus. And so that definitely made the situation feel much better and much easier to handle. This is getting long, but I want to share. So, you know, feel free to turn it off whenever you feel like you've gotten what you need out of it. But I'm going to continue. So she had gotten me this charm, and she handed it to me, and honestly, I just didn't even want to open it. I didn't want to open it because I knew that it was going to be a tangible thing that was going to remind me of Nugget forever. And I guess some part of me just didn't want to deal with it at all, which was kind of surprising. Like when I felt that so strongly, I was almost mad that she got it for me. But then I knew that I had to open it, so I did. And it was this charm, the heart with the heart in it, the one from Pandora. It's called Forever in My Heart. And we just continued celebrating the life, Nugget's life, that was in me and now is with Jesus. And so that was really good. I was very thankful to have such a good friend. I do want to say there are a couple things that were kind of frustrating, and I find it to be frustrating even still. And that is that when you tell someone that you have had a miscarriage, which we did, we've told everybody, we want to tell everybody, we want everyone to tell everyone our story, because I think that it's really helpful. I think that if I experience this thing and I don't grow from it and I don't help other people grow in it, then what was it for? So I've told everyone, and we've talked about it with people. And the thing that I hear all the time is, wow, you know, miscarriages are so common. I mean, they just happen all the time. So, you know, I mean, it's okay. And I just really want to say, yeah, you know, but everybody dies all the time. But don't you mourn for that? Like, doesn't that make you sad when you have your mom die or dad die or your brother or your sister die? And it's odd because it just feels like it's kind of swept under the table as something that's very common. And although it is, it's not given any weight, the weight that it deserves, because it is a life. And if we don't look at it as a life, then it makes it easier to take that life if we don't feel like we want to deal with it. But it's a real life, and it's a life that with a soul from the very beginning, and a heartbeat at week 5, and it's important. it's important. So I have to be clear with people that I can be clear with that, yes, it happens quite often, but that doesn't make it less important. The interesting thing too is that suddenly everyone wants to tell you about their miscarriages. Everyone suddenly starts talking about it. Oh yeah, I had 1 or 2. Oh yeah, I had 5 before I had a viable pregnancy to the end. Oh, I mean my stepmom and my aunts and my friends and so many people have had miscarriages, and now they're talking about it. And so I'm understanding that there's a certain part of this joyful occasion of making life that people don't really want to deal with. And not surprisingly, it's the death part of life that people don't really want to deal with. And I think it's because, one, we don't understand it really sometimes. We don't really know what's happening. Or we don't understand eternity ourselves. Maybe it's because it's scary and emotional, and we just don't know how to tap into those emotions and manage them. But for whatever reason, this is what I'm experiencing with that. So it took a couple of weeks for me to stop bleeding, and that was hard too. Even though, I had really dealt with the emotions and I had gone through my mourning process, which again was different from everyone's. It was really hard every morning to wake up and have blood. And very hard every time that I went to the bathroom and wiped and there was blood. It was just this constant reminder of the death of Nugget. And that was hard, the constant reminder. I was just ready for it to be over. I was ready to not be bleeding anymore and to not have to wear a pad anymore and to not have to deal with it so closely anymore, I guess. So that was good. Now, the great thing is my husband and I are still practicing and we're still very excited about making babies and having babies, and I'm still feeling very encouraged that we're going to be able to do that. Although I'm a little scared. I don't want to rest in that scared. I don't want to rest in that fear, but I wonder what it's going to be like whenever I get pregnant again, and if I'll be a little worried, that little voice in the back of my heart saying, well, you don't really know. You don't really know what's going to happen. And that's true. You really don't. I remember during my pregnancy, I kept having feelings like, oh gosh, what if it's not true? I kept having to take pregnancy tests because I just thought maybe it wasn't even true. And then I thought, well, gosh, what if one day we go take the ultrasound and there's nothing there? And what if we've told all these people and there's really just nothing there and it's just been this big lie? And sure enough, it started to feel like a bit of a lie to me that I was pregnant after I had the miscarriage. I told you that I had saved the amniotic sac, and so I opened it. And it was really cool. Coming from someone who loves science, it was a really cool experience, quite honestly. And the tissue, the thick tissues that would come out, it was really interesting to see how vascularized they were, and how just full of, again, vascularization so that the baby could get nutrients and the blood could pass through. It's just an incredible process that the body is able to do. It's definitely something to be celebrated. But the sac, I expected to find a fetus in it, and there was nothing. And that really surprised me. I really thought that I was going to find a fetus, and I wanted that. And instead there wasn't. And as I've done more research, there's an option for that to be what's called a blighted ovum, where something happens at the very beginning and there just really is very little development at all, if any. But yet your body continues to support the pregnancy. And perhaps that's what happened with me. But I really felt cheated, actually. I felt like I had been given a gift of being pregnant and helping to make Nugget, that when I opened the gift, the gift came too early, but then when I opened it, it was empty. I feel like I got an empty gift, and I was really upset about that. God, why would you give me an empty gift? That doesn't even make sense.